favourite podcast platform or ask your smart speaker to play the podcast Leicester Till I Die.
Subscribe, like, follow and join in now.
Start with Chris, add a dash of sport, squeeze in some music, then shake, don't stir. And you've got the ultimate blend, LTID, with your host, Chris.
Hello, how the devil are you all? Welcome along. This is LTID TV. Oh, God, too many letters. It's like we're in America. Anyway, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good day, goodbye. Hello, welcome along. New era. Do you know what? I think he's quite lucky. I think he is starting off with a free hit, to be honest with you. Let us know what you think. Get in the chat now. Let us know your thoughts on the return of Shaky and Smithies at the wheel. We are live now on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter. And for those of us that are listening, thank you so much for lending me your ears. We are available on all the major podcast platforms, or just ask your smart speaker to play the podcast Leicester Till I Die. Look, he's my wise old owl. Some call him just half of that, which is a tweet. I think it's a tweet that they called him. But let's find out. Craig, good evening, sir.
Good evening to you, Chris. Good evening, everyone. I'm seeing you're a member of the Wu-Tang Clan now. Is that right?
Apparently so, yes. I've absolutely no idea, but I just love the colours.
Say no more.
It means something. It means something, I'm sure.
Well, now that you're a lady of leisure.
Well, indeed, indeed.
You can wear what you want without answering to anyone, Chris.
I can. Except obviously my adoring public.
Yeah.
Well, the public, I don't know how adoring they are.
Let's not push it, eh?
How are you feeling? New start?
I think as the week's gone on, and obviously before we've kicked off, I'm feeling more and more positive. I think I've enjoyed seeing what I've seen out of the training ground. I've seen people laughing and joking, which we haven't seen for a while. The club often release video footage from training sessions or whatever. You don't see a lot of people laughing and joking around there, or you haven't done in recent weeks and months. So it's been good. I think, I think the fact that they brought three in, I think I said this the other night when they were appointed. I think if it was just Dean Smith and you're getting one voice, but you're still getting all the coaches, not a lot's changed. But the fact that you've got three in there, I think will make all the difference. They can bounce off each other as well. They can play good cop, bad cop. You can do all this. I always find it strange when you get rid of a manager, but then a lot of the backroom team then take over because the messaging is still the same. It's the same voices that you're hearing from day to day. Yeah. But I think with these three coming in, and a good mix, really, isn't it? You've got, Dean Smith hasn't had the greatest of successes at the last couple of clubs. Neither had Ranieri, if we're going to say that. Shakespeare knows it, knows the club, knows the people, and can provide that link between players and the board. And there's been a bit of a detach there. You get the feeling that the board of almost, whether they've wanted to distance themselves, but they seem more distant this time. And then you got John Terry, who probably most people can't stick, but you would imagine from a player's perspective, he's going to command a bit of respect because he's been there and done it and worn the kit.
There's a lot of rumours been going round, and purely it has to be said on Twitter about John Terry and Danny Ward's wife. But I think it's just devilment, to be honest with you. I mean,
of course it is. Yeah.
Let's not. I didn't want Jesse Marsh. I've got to be honest with you. I think we missed one there, thank God. But had he come, we've got to give him a chance, And let's be honest with you, our defence has been pretty shite. I think
Mm.
our set piece coach certainly ended up. I think we left him in Qatar because we've never been good since we came back. But whatever you say about John Terry, he's been there, seen it, got the T-shirt, and our defence needs all the help he can get at the moment. In fact, I'm tempted to say, John, re-register and put a shirt on.
Well, yeah. Well, to be honest, I'd be very surprised and a little bit disappointed if he didn't turn up on day one wearing the full Leicester kit anyway. You know,
I know. I'll give you that. I'm going to give you that one, mate. I hadn't even thought of that. That is
yeah.
already. We've got the comment of the show. That's not going to better.
But yeah, he's got to command respect. Those defenders are going to look up to him,
Yeah.
and you would think. And from what I expected a lot of Villa fans to be sort of slagging us off for taking that team together, but it's been pretty mixed, to be honest. There's quite a few people been saying fairly positive things and what positive things that that John Terry came to the club, how he managed to be a really positive influence on Jack Grealish and sort of got him to knuckle down and sort of tell him what it takes to be a professional footballer. So I think with the three of them, I think there's a lot of positives. I think it's a shame that we've gone Man City. It may turn out to be a great first game for them, but it would have been nice, I think, for us to have had a home game for these three to get their first game and get the crowd behind them. But I'm hoping that as long as it's not, some horrific scoreline, that the crowd will be with them next week and we can kick on from then.
I mean, when you look at Dean Smith, he basically got Grealish to do what Maguire did, which was to sign a new contract so that we would get some money, something that it appeared Brendan couldn't do with Yuri. And when look at where he's been, he got a club that was there was something like 8 points adrift or something at the bottom, and he got them almost into the playoffs at Walsall.
Yeah.
He really did well. He then obviously went to Brentford. Now, we can all praise Franks Thomas Franks to high heaven, but it's a bit like Ranieri. You've got to come in and take something over, and he left. I mean, I think was it 3 seasons of playoffs or something he took them to. So if we go down, he's got that experience. And Villa, let's not, he did keep them up. All right, you could argue how it happened, but he did at the end of the day keep them up. And Norwich, all right, you could argue that they were probably down anyway, and he didn't have the players there at all because they never buy many players when they come up. But they were 5th when they sacked him.
Yeah, I mean, not every manager's going to work at every club. Otherwise, everyone would just stay in the jobs forever, and no one would ever have any success. Sometimes, unless you're elite level, you're going to have clubs where it just doesn't work. The same with players. Players don't become bad players. They just go to a club and for some reason, whether it's the mix of players they're playing with, whether it's the tactics of the team, whether the manager tries to change the way they play, it just doesn't work. And then they'll move on and it works again. So I think we've got to be fair and give the guy a chance. And as I say, and I think it was really wise, whether it was him insisting that he brought those two, whether it was our management team, our owners or whatever, who insisted that they wanted that as a package. I think it's turned out probably as well as it could have done.
I think so. I think 100%. I'm just going to say hello to Gokwan, who's come in, Thunder Road, aka Gokwan. Chris wearing a Wu-Tang Clan baseball top. An OAP wearing Wu-Tang, instant thumbs up from me. It's all I want, Thunder. It's all I want. OAP, how dare you? I'm not actually an OAP. Let's just get this right before we go. It's early retirement I've taken, not an OAP.
It's a choice. It's a lifestyle choice.
It is. Exactly, Craig. Thank you for that. Yes, when you look at what we could have had, I mean, I mean, Jesse Marsh, I'm sorry. I mean, he has got an ego that his talents cannot, match up to. That guy, I mean, the Mercury did, well, a big headline, the reasons why Jesse Marsh turned down Leicester. And it was nothing to do with Leicester. It was all about Southampton. But I'm sorry. You should just be lucky you get other jobs. And Potter, I think we've got to accept that if we don't stay up, we're not going to get Potter anyway. I don't think.
Yeah, I'm still a little bit on the fence on that. Anyway, to be honest, I think he's a good coach. I think it takes a little bit of time to get his team playing, but very good possession. But is he a little bit much of the same as what we've just got rid of? To be honest, there's similar molds to me, similar mold of manager, and I'm not sure, particularly now, that's what we need.
No, quite right. And do you think? I mean, it has helped that Dean Smith has got shaky with him, hasn't it?
Yeah. I think so. And I saw, what I liked about Dean Smith as well when I first saw his first interview, what he was saying sort of rang true. That he'd already noticed some of the issues that we'd got, and he was talking about the fact that we need to transition through the pitch a lot quicker than we have done, and recognizing the fact that, if you dilly-dally around on the ball at the back, teams get back into shape. So you have to move the ball quickly through the phases of the pitch. We've all been sitting watching that, knowing that that's what needed to be done. Yet Brendan never really instilled that in the players to move it on quickly.
No. Thunder, I'm what's the word I'm looking for? An honorary OAP. Let's put it that way. Terry's agreeing with Craig twice tonight. But yeah, we could be striking up a new bromance here. TM is in, and I've got to say, TM, welcome along. It's been a while. Nice to have you back. Spurs fans are so prickly. This is true. I put a post out earlier in jest because I read that Spurs were putting together a package for James Maddison. So I put out a thing saying, but the guy has ambition and wants to win more trophies. So why would he choose Spurs? Spurs couldn't win a jerk off in a strip club. To which I got a reply, and surprisingly, a Spurs fan, which is probably where they would find most of their historic trophies. It's got bigger than you and will pay more than you. You can just the football hierarchy when you know your place. These things are easy to accept. I mean, I'm sorry, when a Spurs are bigger club, they've got a bigger stadium. Yes, they've got possibly you could argue they've got a bigger fan base. They also get a bigger list of managers that turn them down than we do. Was it 9 turned them down before? What's he called from Wolves took over?
Yeah, him.
Yeah,
him who's disappeared. Yeah.
Can't even remember his name. That's how effective he was. So, I mean, yeah, you're a bigger club than us. 9 managers it took you to get one, mate. Yeah, that's how big Spurs are. So, Bin, if you're watching, which I doubt you are, put yourself in it. But TM, loved having you in. It is nice to have you here. Scott is in. Good evening, Scott. How are you? Welcome along. Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, I think bringing Shaky along obviously has made it a lot more easier. But I think we could have done a lot worse, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I'm still annoyed that we sacked Rodgers with no plan in mind as to who was going to take over. Because if you run a business well. And all right, you can say, well, Top's in America, in Thailand, he didn't know what was going on. Well, he's got people there, Rudkin, Whelan, Neville, that should have been keeping involved. And if I was him, I'd be looking at those 3 and saying, what the fuck were you doing? Why weren't you telling me how shit it was? Now, you got to be honest, Craig. At the start of the season, it started to go wrong. We were lucky last season. And the fact that we ended up eighth was a complete. It did not sum the season up at all. But we did get to a European semi-final. But with that start, there should have been somebody ringing the alarm bell, going, maybe we just need to get a few names on a bit of paper.
You would have thought so. I mean, who knows whether they had or not, to be honest. I don't think anybody from the club is going to come out and say we didn't have a plan B or we weren't doing anything in the background. It may be that they had got plans, but the worse it got, those players, like that famous meme of Homer Simpson moving backwards into the hedge. That a lot of managers were starting to do that. The more precarious our position looked, then managers would start taking a step backwards because they know if they're coming and signing a long contract and can't get us out of it, then they're down in the Championship as well. So, I'd like to think that we were better than that we did have some plans, but those managers just, distanced themselves. And that's usually done through agents and God knows what these days. Yeah. It's rare that you start a process, and these things never come out fully.
No, and they never will. They never will. It's just this sort of mutual. Everybody's sort of hiding back. Oh, Rodgers wasn't sacked. He left through mutual consent. Look, he was sacked. You know what I mean? I mean, we don't. Any sacking club doesn't want any stories coming out about how they were, etc. And managers don't. And they come to an agreement and they say, look, we'll say this, pay you some money, and we'll all keep quiet.
Exactly.
You know. Do you read Rob Tanner in The Athletic at all?
I don't, because I'm too poor.
It's £1 a month.
Exactly.
No, I'm just saying, but he made the point as well about the nobody lined up, etc. But I've got to say, Scott says, "Good evening to told you." Was it coincidence when we played Forest away? Sean Dyche was there to watch in person, as both clubs at the time where they are now. Yeah, I mean. I've got to say one thing about Dean Smith, and I admire him for it. He said he saw the game against Palace. It's gone out my mind who we actually played. It was that awful at the weekend. Sorry?
Bournemouth,
that's it. How can I forget Bournemouth? But he actually watched the game and he still wanted to come. But he's obviously seen something there, and he's looked at that, and he's obviously, because it's a win-win for him, isn't it? We go down, and he can say, "Well, look, guys, I had 8 games. What do you want me to do?" Yeah. Keeps us up. His stock goes. All 3 of their stock goes through the roof again. Norwich is forgotten about, and he'll either get himself. And in fairness, if he keeps us up, quite rightly, I think a full time, or another club will be after him.
Yeah, I'm going to say, I think sensible managers would see it as an opportunity. Those who didn't make a particular good success of their last one would see it as a good opportunity. At the end of it, if you take the league position away, which you can't, but you looked at the squad, that's still a very good squad for a confident set of coaches to work with. It really is about organisation and instilling some confidence and a bit of belief and getting them enjoying playing football again. We play better when we're smiling, when Maddison's smiling on a football pitch, and all he's been doing the last few weeks is snarling at the ref. So that you can see that frustration. He spends more time berating the ref than he does his own players. So you can see that's sort of hampered him a little bit. Some players take the captaincy, other players it weighs a little bit heavy. I'm sure he's very proud to do it, but I think he's a thoughtful player, and I think it weighs heavy on his shoulders. You saw the interviews afterwards. He took that personally, and he made the mistake, so he should. But I think it was more than that.
No, I agree, and I've been using the example of Ian Botham. An amazing cricketer, but as soon as he was made captain, his form went out the window.
Yeah.
Because he just could not just go out there and just concentrate on what he was good at. But We will be. Look, we're not. I'm not going to ask you to pick a team because there's no way we can know what Dean Smith's going to do or anything. So I won't put you through that. Although we still have a foot in both camps, a chance to draw level this week, and I've
I'm
given
looking
you
forward
a nice.
to that.
Sorry.
Looking forward to that, Chris.
Well,
I'm sure you've dug one out.
It's an easy. No, I think I've given you an easy one, if I'm honest with you.
Okay.
Derry said, Chris, like Steve Lynex said, half the players are leaving and don't give a poo. Well, he got Tielemans smiling. Well, I said, we'll come on to the players later in the show. But these are the games this weekend. And to me, if I'm honest with you, he's had 4 days, in essence, since Tuesday to actually come in and play. So it's not the greatest length of time. And then he has got Man City up. But let's be honest with you. If Man City go out and stuff us 4-0, none of us would be surprised.
No.
Even if we were, 6th, 7th, or 8th, and then they did it, we still, it's Man City. So really, I don't think he's sort of got much to lose with this one. What we need to see off him, is a performance.
Yeah, I think he's going to look at this almost as a step up of a training session, to see what he's got to work with. Not just the talent, because they're all talented footballers, but to see more about the character. What character have they got? Are they going to go out there with their chests puffed out and they want to put on a show? If a team wants to show that they're up for the fight, nothing better than going away to Man City, to be honest.
Yeah.
This is where you can show that whether you've got something. So I think he will learn quite a lot from this game. If we go 1 or 2 down, can we stick together as a team? Can we learn to you're not closing out a game because we're not winning, but shutting up and protecting what you've got almost, even if, and I've said it to a couple of people at work, a 2-0 loss to me is worth a point because it protects the goal difference, and that goal difference is worth a point. Yeah. So I think that'll be in the back of their minds as well, that they don't want to get turned over. I'm not looking for anything, or I'm not expecting anything too outrageous in terms of formation. I'm thinking that he will look to keep it tight, but then have players who can transition quick and get the quickest players on the pitch that he can. So I'm fully expecting to see Daka there for a start. And that's the way I think you have to go there. Everybody says you should go and just sort of go gung-ho, it's a free hit or whatever, but it's not in the predicament we're at, that we need to protect that goal difference. So for me, you keep it tight and you play on the break.
Our goal difference at the moment is -12. It is the best apart from West Ham, who have suddenly found they're playing tonight, I think, actually, aren't they, West Ham?
They drew, I think. I think they were held to a draw by Genk.
Oh, were they? Wow.
I think so.
So, I mean, they're on -12 as well. But I said they've found the knack of winning ugly games 1-0. And
they have, but they also got turned over by Palace 5-1.
No, that was Leeds, wasn't it?
Oh, it was Leeds. Sorry, that's an absolute lie. I'm just feeding you lies, Chris, to make yourself look good.
Well, thank you, because that's usually my job.
Right.
I'm usually extremely good at saying, why don't you pick a player that's out from the youth team with UCL? So I'm pleased that people, hang on, what time? I'm going to have to click that. 23:39.
Please click it.
Even the great wise old owl himself is susceptible to the odd slip up.
I'm still reeling from you being a member of the Wu-Tang Clan, to be fair, Chris.
I've blinded you with it, haven't I?
Yeah.
I've actually got 2. I bought another, not the same, obviously, but I bought another one. But look, so Bournemouth are -12. We're -12, but you got Bournemouth on -29. Leeds on -15, so they're a bit closer to us. Everton -20, Forest -30, Southampton -27. Like you say, that could be the point. If we stay up on goal difference, I do not give a shite.
No. And I think that's, I would not be surprised if it comes down to goal difference at the end of it. It's so tight. It's developing though, isn't it? These last few games, you're starting to you early on when you're not right in the bottom three, you start thinking you want everybody to draw. You know, yeah, close, Scott, close.
82 up front, is that?
Exactly. Yeah.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, when you're in the mix of at the bottom, you want everybody to draw, you know, so everybody gets a point, and then it you know, everybody stays close. When you're in that bottom three, you start getting to that point where you think, okay, well, we want a couple of them to start getting away because every point counts. So when Palace go and put 5 past Leeds, you know, 2 weeks ago, you would have think that's a really bad result because you want everybody to stick around. But now it's like, okay, Palace, off you go and beat everyone else who's down there and keep them down with us. And I think that's how it's going to develop over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to looking at these games. Oops, he says. Let me just go back up a little bit. So Villa are safe. They're not to worry about it. Everton are playing Fulham now. This is the worry that we've got because we are going to lose. I know I'm being pessimistic, but let's be honest, chances are we're going to lose to Man City. Now, Everton at home playing Fulham with no Mitrovic could get something from that.
They could. Fulham are not in good form at the moment. Fulham.
No. Palace, Southampton. We can but hope that Palace do another 5-1 because again, Roy's come in, and we all laughed at Roy, didn't we? But he's come in now. He's if he can do us a favour, and I mean Southampton. Everybody's saying Southampton's down, but they're only 2 points behind us. So we could do with Palace doing us a favour there. Bournemouth are at Spurs. Well, God, I don't know if TM's still in or not. Bless her. We just don't know what Spurs is going to turn up, do you? You know. And then Wolves, Brentford. But then you've got on Sunday. You've got Forest at Manchester, or Forest hosting Manchester United, and they are better at home. You got West Ham at home to Arsenal. You think that Arsenal should win that, and obviously Monday night Leeds are hosting Liverpool, and Leeds have already beaten Liverpool. So there's some games in there that teams around us could be getting points or even 3 this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, by the end of the weekend, it could look even bleaker. But I think the fact is that we've then got 3 or 4 games.
Oh, yes.
That are winnable. Having said that, Bournemouth was winnable, Palace was winnable, Villa was winnable. We've had a lot of winnable games that we haven't won. So,
but no, I know what you mean. Those 4 games will, in my eyes, will decide our future. I mean, we've got Wolves at home, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everton at home. Everton at home, Leeds away, and Fulham away. And I think it's the last match for Mitrovic before he comes back. So something has fallen for us. And then we've got Liverpool, which could be winnable. Then Newcastle, and then West Ham. And I think West Ham are going to be safe, to be honest with you. But yeah, like I say, and that's why I'm glad we've got this game now. Let's do it, get it out the way, learn from it. I can't see him doing a Brendan and saying, look, let's try and keep it down to, let's stick 8 behind the ball and go for a try and get a draw, because he wouldn't learn anything from that, would he?
No, I think he'll be pretty solid across the middle and then have 2 or 3 up front and just try and get the ball to them as quickly as possible and see what they can do, but without leaving yourself exposed.
Yes.
The worst thing you can do is start going gung-ho, and then Man City, can cut you to pieces with 2 or 3 passes. So, as long as we get past Mahrez scoring in the first 10 minutes, which we know he probably will.
Well, Pep apparently is facing Erling Haaland and Kevin De Bruyne decision ahead of Leicester City clash.
Right.
And again, did they play this week in the Champions League?
Yeah, they played against Bayern Munich, didn't they?
What was the score? I didn't.
They beat them 3-0.
Oh, right. Well, damn.
Well, no, I mean, he's still, he needs his best team on the pitch, because if you go away to Bayern Munich and let a couple of goals in early on, then you're up against it. So I think he sees that as the bigger game, but he can't afford to not win this one with them playing ahead of Arsenal.
Yes. But well, it's interesting to see, like you say, how he might not start with them, but it'd be interesting to see. Like you say, the Champions League, he wants that. He wants that so much, and the owners want it so much, don't they?
And we know that if he decides to leave De Bruyne and Haaland on the bench, the rest of the squad is shocking. So
that's true.
Just play Mahrez or Grealish or Foden or God knows however many others that they've got.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I forgot what I was going to ask you now. You made me laugh. Dean Smith, he's got a bit of a penchant for playing two up front.
Yeah. As I say, I can see him doing that. We don't know. I haven't heard much about the injury status of Harvey Barnes. I don't know if anybody else has, or whether he said anything.
I don't think he did a press conference today, did he?
I've got a feeling he was doing it tomorrow.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think
Tielemans... maybe he's asked for that because he needs more time on the pitch, just to come in.
Yeah. Well, Tielemans has been pictured back on the training pitch.
Yeah. Having a laugh and a joke by all accounts.
Yeah, well, it was in that video, because it showed the first one where Vardy, the typical Vardy greeting. Hey, up you! But it's great to see. The only player I didn't see with a smile on his face was Soyuncu, but like I say, we'll come to that later. I mean, just to go through some stats and get them out of the way very quickly, because they are worried. We've got Darren England in the middle, and we have VAR is
Stevie Wonder.
Well, does it matter who's on VAR? Let's be honest with you. I tell you what, Howard Webb's going to have a busy job in the summer, But then let us have a look at this. 23 times we've met in the Premier League. They've won 14, we've won 7. They've won 6 at home, but we've won 5 away. So it's not, let's not forget it wasn't a million miles away when we beat them 6-3, was it, or something, on the second game of the season. But look, that was then and this is now, and it's two completely different stories. They beat us 6-3 earlier on in the season, but then again, so was everybody, And they beat us 1-0 with a wonder goal, wonder free kick from Mr. De Bruyne earlier in the season. But this is the scary one. The form going into this game. Oops, that was the matches, sorry. The form going into this game. There's a lot of green on the left, isn't there? But not much on the right.
Yeah, it looks like an episode of Squid Game, doesn't it?
Yes. And probably the same outcome.
Yeah, I think so.
With you. But look, we've got to draw this line in the sand, haven't we?
Yeah. I mean, we have to, as I say, he it's not a free swing, but it is really, in terms of, he will hopefully learn a lot about what he's got, and we all know that it's the games after this one that are going to be the ones that keep us up or not. This is, as I say, like a glorified training session for him to try some players, try some formations, try some partnerships. And I think that's really important. What's going to be important, and what's been missing, has been that sort of camaraderie and team spirit. And obviously you watch it online, Chris, or on TV when it's live, and maybe the camera doesn't pick up a lot of it. But there's been a lot more arguing between players in these past few games of players, not falling out, but shouting at each other, questioning each other. There's been a lot of that probably hasn't been picked up on cameras, of calling, each other out, trying to lay the blame at each other's doors. It's not an overly happy camp. Hopefully these three coming in and brightening the mood and putting a smile back on them can get some of that team spirit, because at the end of it, that's what carried us through in the days that we were successful, the days under Ranieri when Shakespeare was there. It was a collective team spirit. It wasn't that team was any more talented than the players we've got now. They had a collective team spirit and team bonding that got them through, and hopefully some of that can rub on with Shaky coming back.
Totally. I mean, as well, Shakespeare, obviously, he did The Great Escape. And then he also had his own mini Great Escape when he took over from Ranieri. It wasn't quite the same, I will agree. So he knows what it takes. And, there's still players there that, he will remember, obviously, Vardy being the obvious one. Do you think that they're going to... I mean, they surely can't do what Adam Sadler did and just say, well, we're just going to do what the last guy did.
I don't think so. I think they'll have their own ideas. You can't come in and replicate, because at the end of it, it's your team, it's your tactics, they're your players now. They will play the way you want them to play, not the way they want to play. And I think it was very encouraging as well, more of the stuff that was coming out. And from what I saw on that clip when they released it from the training sessions, was something that Dean Smith said about it's what you do with your possession. And we need to get more shots off. And we know that that's been an issue for us. We can have a lot of possession, but we don't turn it into chances or shots on goal. Our shots on goal ratio in the last few games has been absolutely shocking. And I don't know if you noticed in that clip that they released where they were playing a very quick transfer 3-on-3, it was all about get the ball, get a shot off, and then switch players. Get the ball, get a shot off between the two or three of you, 3 against 3. Get a shot off and then switch players. And it was all about that, getting into those places higher up on the pitch and making sure there's some kind of end product and making the keeper work.
Yes.
To be honest, Chris, the last few games we've played, you could have had that job, You could have been an opposition keeper.
About that job, I'll tell you now.
You could have been an opposition keper, mate, and you'd have been fine.
I see what you mean. Sorry, I thought.
You'd have been an opposition keeper, walking away with your 400 grand a week, and you'd not had to do anything.
Leaning up against the post,
exactly.
Pasty.
Yeah, you can do a Casper in just hanging from the goalposts.
Yeah. Do you remember? The Great Escape year, and we always say with that one, I can remember, let's say, 7.5 hour return journey, every home game to see us lose, and that getting there wasn't so bad because we always drove up there with hope, me and my son, but driving back after we'd lost, it was like, oh god, 3.5 hours. It wasn't like we're just driving 20 minutes home. But do you know what? I can't remember us ever actually blaming the players because they left it on the pitch. They were fighting. And, we bought a certain Kramaric. And I remember him coming on. And the problem we had in a few of those games is, it looked like some of the players were afraid to shoot.
Yeah.
So, but Kramaric came on. All right, someone thought it was wide over, what have you. But at least he said, I've got the ball. The goal's there. I can see it. I'm going to shoot.
Yeah, I love Kramaric. I was really disappointed when we got rid of him. He never really had a run of games. I think Gary Taylor-Fletcher probably got a better run of games when he was here than Kramaric got.
I'm trying to get him on the show, so don't upset him.
No. So, I love Kramaric. But, when you, again, and hopefully Shakespeare can bring some of that Great Escape back, because we were very much the seeds of the championship winning team were sown there. Yes. That we sat back, we drew teams on, and then we hit them on the break. And we did it time after time after time with using the pace of Vardy to get away and get shots on goal. And hopefully they can bring some of that back and we can do it. Keep it tight, just play on the break, play in bursts. Don't try and cause yourself to run around endlessly, chasing lost hope, chasing lost balls, or God knows what. Get in the shape and then play in bursts.
Yeah. Scott says, "What is Dean's track record of bringing youngsters in?" I think two words to that is Jack Grealish. Yeah, look, what he had,
Jack
effect he
Grealish.
had on him.
But I also remember, I seem to think there was a cup game against Liverpool when there was a lot of talk that Liverpool, I think, well, something had happened, and Villa, I think it was Villa, had to play a load of kids. I can't remember what it was, but I remember there was a young kid came on and scored either an equaliser with like his first or second touch. So I think he's always been one who's tried to bring youngsters through if they're there. And when you're working, in the lower leagues, that's your best chance to find players, to bring youngsters through, to get players on loan and try and develop them.
Yes. And I think as well, the youngsters are going to win. We don't need youngsters for the next 8 games. We
No.
need players that have got the experience, that aren't going to freeze. Yeah, the argument is, well, the youngsters don't play with any fear, etc., etc. But there's a hell of a lot of responsibility on them. And I don't think we even need to think about youngsters for the next 8 games. Let's put players out there that can, like you say, battle and leave themselves on the pitch. For me, Randy's in. I love the name, Randy Marsh. Do you have a brother of Jesse at all? Is he a family relation? This should be a fashion channel. Brad brings a dressing gown, and Chris rocks the Wu-Tang. I did not realise that I would get such a response to wearing this top. But then he does say, and thank you so very much, Randy. Says, best LCFC channel. Thank you. Really does appreciate that. Not just for myself, but for the likes of Craig and Brad and everybody else as well. It means a lot to us. So thank you very much. Yeah. Not the biggest, but we just try to have a laugh and a joke, don't we? Talking about a laugh and a joke, players that were sort of frozen out a little bit under our previous bell end. I saw him in the video of when sort of they were walking down for breakfast. I mean, that's not bad. It's like a bloody hotel, isn't it? Walking down there and getting breakfast. Bloody hell. And I didn't see Cag smile. Did you?
No, I didn't. He, to be honest, though, during all the time he's been here, I'm not sure I've seen him smile that much.
No,
but he did look like a player, almost that like a new teacher's come in, or maybe, some parents have come into a foster home, and he's trying to make eye contact and hope that they pick him. But you would hope that, particularly with John Terry coming in, that there is a clean slate there for him and Vestergaard. They're both experienced defenders. And any new manager coming in should have that as the first thing that they do. I'm sure that when they've called all those players together, the first thing, or one of the first things they've said is, the first thing would be, how the hell have you got yourself in this mess? Second one would be, it's a clean slate. We're going to take everything on merit. We know there's quality in the squad. Go out there on the training pitch. Forget anything that's happened in the past. This is a new regime. Go on the training pitch. Show me what you've got.
I mean, there's something went on between Soyuncu and Bellend, because it wasn't just a case of, well, he's not doing it at training. I'm sorry, that just to me just doesn't smack of that. Whether his head got turned when there was talk about him, being linked with, was it Madrid or somebody? But then again, that's natural. Then it's down to the manager to bring him back down to earth and manage that.
Exactly.
But it says here, however, he wasn't included in the squad under Sadler and Stowell. And he has 3 of Harry Souttar, Wes Faze, Daniel Amati, and fit again Johnny Evans to overtake in the pecking order. Well, to be honest with you, for me, he's third choice in that. Souttar and Faze, possibly. Although, I mean, again, when Sadler drops Souttar because he's tired after coming back from Australia. Sorry, when you're in the Championship, you're playing 2 games a bloody week. You know?
And if you're tired, you miss the next game that you come back. You don't play and then
Exactly.
yeah. None of that made any sense.
No.
None of their decisions and squad decisions or team decisions made any sense, to be honest.
Scott was shot. We are coming on to Vestergaard next, so hold your hat there, Scott. Hold your hat. JT looks like he's a no-nonsense coach in the Pearson's mould. What about Vestergaard and Sutar together, 2-2-1? Before we get on to Vestergaard, I mean, I'm a fan of Amate, and we would have been in the deep doo-doos if it hadn't been for him with all the injuries we've had. It'd be interesting to see how many injuries, off the field injuries we get, or say off the playing field injuries we get now that Dean Smith's in. We certainly didn't get quite as many for the last 2 weeks, but there we go. We can all see that, but nobody at the club could. So I love Daniel Amati, but I'm sorry, he does have his limitations. He's gone for me from oh my God, don't have him anywhere near the first team to, yes, he should be in the squad at least. But I would have had Soyuncu above Daniel Amate. So your thoughts on that, and then I can ask you about Johnny Evans.
For me, and I remember going back probably 18 months ago when we had Richard Smith on the show. Once the ex-Leicester centre-half, Richard Smith, was on. And I do remember asking him the question, because it's something that I've always believed in, but is often overlooked, as to how important it is to have right-sided and left-sided centre-halves. And he said it's very, very important. So because you build those relationships with your left-back, with the left-sided midfield players, you naturally turn certain ways, you defend certain ways, you see the play on certain ways. As soon as you switch sides, it all becomes a bit of a mess. Your positioning is wrong because you take a left-sided centre half takes his position from the right side and vice versa, or from their fullbacks. So when you moved around, so depending on who you're looking and where you think your weak spot may be, if he's playing Farce on the right, Suter on the left, then yeah, you would naturally think if Suter's looking a bit dodgy, it would be Soyuncu for me, because he's a naturally left-sided player. If you're looking on the right, I think it's Amati, because you don't necessarily want to be moving right-sided and left-sided defenders across each other and making the play on the other side. So I think there's room for both of them on the bench to give you the best cover.
Agree totally. For me, I think I'd like to see him back. I think we've done that. Evans fit again. I mean, I can't say that he let us down when he came on for his 5 minutes against whoever it was the other week, because he then got an injury. Funnily enough, I've got to sneeze. 1 second, excuse me.
Bless you.
Oh, excuse me, I couldn't mute the microphone quick enough then. I do apologise, excuse me, and thank you for your blessings. But again, does he come in with his experience?
I think the only way.
I'm not a big fan of Evans, in fairness.
Let's say it wouldn't surprise me, because of who we're playing, that you need experience and you need defenders who talk, to make sure that you're not dragged around, because that's what Man City love doing. They love dragging. How you doing? Hope's all's going well. No, it's been a tough time for you, but congratulations on the promotion. Man City want to drag you around. They want to drag defenders out of position. So from that perspective, you want a little bit of experience. You want someone who will talk the way through the game. It was funny watching it the other night. The most vocal defender on the pitch the other night was Daniel Amati. He was the one who was pointing and shouting and trying to get players in the right positions. And he's taken more of that responsibility on board the last sort of 18 months, I see. Yeah. But long answer to a short, brief question. It wouldn't surprise me if he plays Evans, if he's fit.
I know everybody says with Evans, well, he plays it sideways, but I don't think he plays it sideways or plays out from the back in the same way as everybody else. Because I think for him, and I could be wrong here. You've watched him live. Well, it's been a few years since I have, but is it a case of he's looking to see what he can do and he hasn't got an option? But if he's got players that are moving for him up front, and he's got, and that's half the time the trouble is. I've seen, well, again, I've only seen what I've seen on the TV, but quite often Leicester players have got the ball and there's nobody there for them to pass around to.
Yeah, I think that's very much a coach's philosophy that he's been stuck in there. I think it's drilled into them to keep possession at all costs almost. Don't forget, Johnny Evans came from West Brom. They weren't a team who played possession football. That's been drilled into him since he's been there with Brendan Rodgers to me. So I think, yes, he dallies on the ball, and that's frustrated me so much. But I think it was because they were constantly seeing the pictures that were drilled into them on the training pitch that you need to be here. I've got the ball here. You should be there. There should be another man there. And unless you get into those positions, I'm not going to pass you the ball. I'm not prepared to take a chance and miss someone out. That's one of the most frustrating things, where you can see opportunities to miss a player out, but they go through from the left side to the right side to the fullback, where you can just cut players out. And there seemed to be a reluctance to do that. But I think that was drilled into them by Rodgers, to be honest. And I would hope, from what Smith has said, that they need to transition quickly, that if he does play Evans, he's given instructions to get the ball into midfield a lot quicker.
Yeah. And you know what, Mark? My thoughts on playing out from the back. I think it's suicide. I really do. We see it a lot, not just at Leicester. Remember the goal that Harry Maguire gifted us in one game. I think it's just, if you're playing it, and also as well, obviously, while we're playing it about at the back, and I know that it was you that mentioned it before, it gives the opposition time to regroup.
Of course they do. Yeah. I mean, it's the most basic thing. And anybody who can't see that, I just don't understand it. You get the ball quickly, you've broken up an attack, players are out of position from the opposition, move it quickly into the gaps that they've left. Not just hang on to it and let them regroup and then try and break them down. We're not good enough to do that. No. Teams get hurt when you move the ball quickly through the thirds of the pitch.
Yeah. And I'm just going through the 4 players here that the Mercury have sort of highlighted that could get a.
How have you managed to get rid of all the ads to see what they've actually written, Chris?
Don't curse it. It's actually one that they've actually written and not just taken a headline and built a story around. Good evening, Jason. Yannick Vestergaard. This is not to suggest that Vestergaard is suddenly going to start every City game from now until the end of the season. He may not play at all, but he at least has a clean slate under Smith. He is now back in training with the rest of the first team, having been ordered to work alone by Rodgers after an unauthorised interview in which he was critical of the former City boss. There were plenty of centre-backs at City still likely to be ahead of Vestergaard in the pecking order, so it may be that he does go through the campaign without making a single Premier League appearance. But if he can impress in training, he may get the nod if City are defending deep and want somebody to guard against balls into the box.
Yeah, you had me until you said guard against balls into the box, to be honest, because not since Ian Ormond droid have I seen a player jump shorter than he actually is when he's standing still. What I would say is where Vestergaard comes into his own is if you're potentially playing a back 3 and he's someone who can step out of the middle of a back 3 because he is decent with the ball at his feet and he can pick a pass. And I remember going back a couple of seasons, there was a great montage of him playing for Southampton against Man City, where he played exactly that role in the middle of a three, stepping out, because they often didn't play with a number 9 pressing the centre half, that it allows the middle centre half to step up and start spraying balls into midfield. So I think in certain games, if that's the way they want to go with a back three, I could see him coming in.
I feel sorry for the guy, because here he had a manager who'd been chasing him for 2 or 3 seasons, had tried to get hold of him the season before. Yes, we know he was a panic buy because of what happened with Fofana and the injury, but that was down to Rodgers buying the wrong player. So when you are coveted so much by a manager, you're going to think, yeah, I'm going to go there because he's going to want me, he's going to play me. He hasn't been used at all. And I don't think he's been any worse than, say, Daniel Amata. You could maybe argue with that. He's not really been given the chances. But then he's bought a player that doesn't fit into, like you say, into the system as a manager that he's using.
No. I think the only thing you can say is that he's not aggressive enough. But then, because Brendan always said he likes aggressive defenders, yet until Fast came to the club, the most aggressive defender we had at the club was Soyuncu, and he kicked him out of the team for being overly aggressive, and going into challenges in the wrong areas of the pitch. But that was just Brendan just not making any sense whatsoever and contradicting himself.
Sorry. I have to take you to task on that. Brendan contradicted himself.
I'm not sure. I'm convinced that there's a Jekyll and Hyde to Brendan. I'm sure there is. I mean, he falls out with players. He alienates players, but he's done it wherever he's gone. To be honest, it's a repeated thing. You hear the same stories coming out of Celtic, same stories out of Liverpool, that he did exactly the same to players. He's a bit of a narcissist, I think. Yeah. But anyway, that's all behind us now. But I can see, as I say, clean slate for everybody.
Yeah.
And it would naturally give those players a lift to know that, ding dong, the witch is dead, as it were. That there's a brave new world there where I may actually get a few minutes on the pitch.
Pardon? You did say witch.
I did, yes.
But no, like I say, he I think, like you say, what I just think I can understand him doing that interview, if I'm totally honest with you, because of the way he was treated. But anyway, like you say, that was then, this is now. The third player that there's mentioned is Dennis Pratt. Smith has said he's wanting energy in the performance, and that is something Pratt usually provides. Unless Tielemans comes back, he could become an option. The midfield with City's downfall against Bournemouth, with Wilfred Ndidi and Boubakary Soumaré not offering themselves enough to take the ball from defenders, which we mentioned before, didn't we? No options.
Yeah.
Forcing James Maddison to drop deep, and we know what happens with that. If Pratt can show a willingness to be busy, Smith could turn to him. He would feel like a fresh face too, having only started one of City's run of 8 games without victory. Also, with Harvey Barnes potentially out of the weekend's game, and Pratt is also an option on the left wing where he was played previously. This would allow Smith to play his preferred formation. Here we go, 4-2-3-1.
Right. Okay. Where have we had that one before?
Yes. I don't think Pratt has been used enough. I love the guy.
Yeah, no, he's clearly most Leicester fans can see it. He's a talented player. He's a clever player, I think, and I think that's the frustrating thing, that we've got Maddison, but when Tielemans was out the team, we lacked a little bit of guile. And what Pratt does, I would say Pratt is the best player at exploiting space when he hasn't got the ball. He makes some very good runs into space, Pratt. He is a very clever player, and I would hope that he would get some pitch time. Again, he uses the ball well and he keeps the ball well, and that's been our problem. We've got players who turn the ball over much too quickly. As much as I love him, Dewsbury Hall can overrun the ball a lot. Wilfred, indeed, his first touch, his second touch is a tackle. So we know that that's where there's letdown, particularly against Man City. You're going to get so little of the ball, you can't afford to give it them back quickly. So I would imagine, again, from his team formation, he would be looking at players who can protect the ball when we have it.
Yeah. And finally, Tete. He's not been out in the cold, but after starting 7 of Rodgers' final 8 Premier League games in charge, he was dropped by Sadler and Stowell, failing to get on the pitch against Aston Villa and only coming on for the final 20 minutes against Bournemouth. Smith's Villa were at their best when they got quick balls into Jack Grealish's feet and let him dribble up the pitch. There is an argument to say Tete and not Maddison is stylistically, do you remember them, the stylistics? More similar to Grealish, given the Brazilians' tendency to run with the ball and the number 10s preference to play it forward. Do you think he's forgotten he's a Brazilian? Having said that, it was a close shave when we signed him.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things.
Ignoring that.
You've just gone so gangster now, Chris. A couple of things from the Bournemouth game in the last 20 minutes. There was some substitutions which meant Samari got on the ball a lot more, and he had 20 minutes where he looked like the Samari that we all hoped that we'd bought. He was getting the game, he was getting the ball, he was trying to dictate the play, he was playing progressive passes, following his passes. That's the Samari that we've not seen. And whether it's a positional thing, you can't ask him to be tracking back because he just can't do it. But when he's being asked to play a bit more of an advanced role and start the attacks, he was pretty good with that. And the same for Tete when he came on. He looked a lot busier and he looked like he had a lot more urgency to get on with the game than he had done in the past few games. Interestingly enough, though, from Smith's perspective, now it may be just the fact that he had Grealish. If he plays with a 3 across the middle, basically 1 up front with 2 wide men, he plays wide men on the side that they are footed. He doesn't look for the opposites to cut inside. So Grealish is predominantly, I think, is he a left-footed? I could be getting this wrong as well. But he always looked like a player who wanted to go round the outside, and the same on the other side with Villa, rather than players cutting back in. So it'll be interesting to see whether he's been in training trying to switch that up as well as, playing Tete out on the left. If Barnes is out, as we expect that he might well be.
Now, I don't know if you can be able to see this at all, but can you see there's a certain Mr. Ian Wilson there, ex-player, with a certain Alan Smith.
Yeah.
And if I go to the left a little bit, look who's there.
Oh,
Mr. Lineker.
Mr. Lineker. The old boys reunion there.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah. I don't know who's that. Who's that on the to the side of Gary?
He looks familiar.
Yes, he does.
I'm not sure. Having said that, he looks a little bit like Derek Jacobi, but it's not him.
No. I'll just have a word with Gary, get him on the show. Oh God, Doug's in. Good evening, Doug. How are you? I hope you are well. Ian's just sent me here because I haven't got everybody's predictions in. I'm still waiting for Jerry, which is fine because he's top. So if he doesn't give us a quote, then we get to move up. And Craig, just a bit of you do need to move up.
I know that, Chris. I also saw the tables in the long ball. Is it the long ball? Yes. The one that Marshall does. Yeah. I don't think you're in any position to be throwing stones when I look at that one.
Well, it's funny you should mention that because I've not been in it this year.
Well, who's in it under the LTID then?
I don't know. We set it up and we went for one season, and we kind of all sort of drifted away.
Right. You're probably picking up points because I think the way that he does it, if you don't put your scores in, you get an aggregate of everyone else's. So that's
Right.
probably why you're not bottom.
Are you still
You're not
doing
far
it?
off. Yeah.
You're still
I do
doing
it when I remember. Yeah.
Well, this is this was the thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know. But anyway, look. Let us go and let's have a look at these score predictions because I haven't got them up because they didn't do the graph because I'm still not got them all in. You have gone 2-0 to Manchester City.
I have. It really changed me. I think it's the first time I've gone for a defeat, but as I said earlier, a 2-0 defeat is like getting a point. So
yeah,
I'll take it.
Brad has gone 3-2. He thinks it's going to be a goal fest.
3-2 to us or them?
No, to them. No, can I just say, nobody has gone for us to win. Okay, let me just say that. Not even Brad, in his most drunken state ever, or in his North Macedonian rants, has gone for that. I've actually gone 2-1. Somebody said on the show the other day, said, what was your score? I went 2-1. He said, who 2? I went City. Work that one out. So I've gone 2-1, so we've all gone losses. Jerry was still waiting for. Big Ian Marshall doesn't mess about. He's gone 4-0. Ian Wilson, who's just messaged me there, has gone 3-0. Steve Walsh has gone 4-0. And Steve Lynex, well, you know what he's like with his predictions. He's worse than you. He's gone 1-1 for a draw.
Right.
So we're all confident, aren't we?
Yeah, I don't think it's a surprise, really.
No. That one is really bad, Doug. That one is really, really bad. And thank you very much. Yeah, just hit 1.80, but I'm not celebrating or anything because you know what it's like. Tomorrow you can lose 2. And Burton's in. Good evening, Burton. How are you? I hope you are well. Big game on Saturday for us. Sheffield Wednesday at home. Is that a relegation or a promotion battle?
Sheffield Wednesday are top, I think, at the moment.
Oh, are they? Wow.
Yeah.
Right. So it's that time again. Time for the
great.
Quizmaster.
Here we go.
Don't worry, there's no questions on the Wu-Tang Gang. So
It might as well be, to be honest.
Look, I looked at this, and I mean there are some obvious ones, right? If I'd
go for
gone,
one of them.
if I'd gone for Riyad Mahrez, that would have been too easy. So look, is it a manager possibly? We might have shared some managers there. But as anybody that watches this esteemed channel knows, it's just something we've just started for a bit of fun, which is basically
at my expense.
foot in both camps. Look, it's only 3-2. And you forget the questions that you used to ask me?
That's true.
Yeah,
revenge is best served cold.
It is, and this is Frozen. So remember, let it go, let it go. Right, so foot in both camps. Who is this person that's had time at both these clubs that are meeting at the weekend?
Yeah, great. Wow. There's one springs to mind, but only because of a couple of particular clubs. But I thought he had more clubs than that. It's not our good friend Paul Dickoff, that's for sure.
Is it not?
No, I don't think it is. I don't think it's that thug Ben Thatcher.
I like Ben Thatcher.
Yeah, I do, but he was a thug.
Maybe, yes. Maybe that's what we could do with now.
Yeah. I might be out on my years here. I might be a bit out on my years, actually. Yeah, I think I might be a bit too early with this player. Hang on. I know he played for a couple of these clubs, so I'm going to say him, but I think the timings are not right. So I'm going to say Mike Whitlock.
Mike Whitlock. Wow. I don't know if he wasn't one on my list, to be honest with you.
I'm guessing that I'm wrong then, Chris.
Yes, the clue was there, wasn't it? In my reply, Mike Whitlock. No, it wasn't.
No, I think he was too early. I think for those timings, but I know he was at Bolton.
Yeah, I thought
sure.
the Stoke City might have given it away to you. Going from us to Stoke City, where he had a bit of a battle with a certain Mr. Wise, who is he's a very small man. And it is Mr. Taggart.
Oh, is it? Oh, right.
Yes.
Okay. Oh,
now, I have to be fair to you. I
Mm.
had no idea he'd played for Manchester City.
I didn't know that he went to Stoke either, to be honest.
Well, I knew he'd gone to Stoke because he had that famous incident where he clashed with Dennis Wise. I'm not sure what club. I think he was at Chelsea or something. We weren't in the same division then, but it was obviously after after all the incidents when he was at Leicester.
Yeah.
So it wasn't particularly, I don't think, a big club. And it was in the middle of the pitch, and they went down, and he tried to strangle him. And apparently, Leicester were just because it was a late kickoff, and Leicester were on the bus going home and watching it on the telly, and apparently he got the biggest cheer of the day.
Quite right as well. I mean,
quite right.
Anybody who strangles him, yeah.
I do love that story by by Jerry. I really do. But talking of ex-players, we've had a bit of a move around with the shows this week because I thought I'd loaded it up and I hadn't. Where's it gone? It's up here. That's why I was looking in the wrong place. Tomorrow night, everybody, at 9:00, we will be talking to Mr. Melrose. He wasn't with us long, but he was with us for a certain game, which will go down forever in Leicester City's folklore. I'm not looking forward to it because apparently he has got such a strong Scottish accent that I am. And I struggle with accents, I'm not going to lie. Totally struggle with them. It's a bit like George's and what have you. But look, Steve Lynex said, who was speaking to him on the phone recently, he said, and I couldn't understand a bloody word he said. I went, God help us.
Good luck with that.
Not do that. Look, fingers crossed that we can still do it. Another great escape. Let's hope so. We just want a performance, don't we?
Yeah, that's it. I think you want just to come out of it with some encouragement that all is not lost.
Yes, exactly. If you can, Doug, I have the subtitles set up when I do your videos. I always prefer it when you type me messages because then I can read them. There you go. Told you they said that was funny. Taggart on Wise, hilarious, absolutely hilarious. Thank you so much. I take it you're not going to the game with it being away, so have a good weekend with your family.
Thank you very much.
If you can stay on, because I just want to have a word with you regarding quizzes. So then we have very quick chat. The outro is a lot shorter than it was, so I won't keep you holding too long now.
No,
but you haven't got time to go for a pee. So, Craig, the wise old owl, mate, thank you so very much, and I'll speak to you in a second.
Thanks, Chris. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers. Thank you to Craig there. 4-2, Craig. Yes. Revenge. It's been a long time coming and it tastes so good. Tomorrow night, like we say, 9:00, we will be here for the interview with Jim Melrose. Really looking forward to it. If I can understand a bloody word he says, I'm not. Like I say, I'm not confident after what Steve Lynex said to me. And I've just realised I am such a name dropper, aren't I? Look, thank you to everybody that was in the chat tonight and for joining us. Thanks, and thank you for your thank yous. Well done, Doug, but not thank you for your jokes. But thank you to everybody else. Thanks to Craig for coming on. Always a pleasure to have him on. Thank you to everybody that's listened on the podcast, as we are on your favourite podcast platform. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new. And even if you have subscribed or you've not, smash that like button. It really does help the channel. It gets us seen in more places than we are currently, because it will just come up on people's home pages. Look, I will see you tomorrow night. This has been LTID TV. I've been Chris, and this is Marilyn. Good night.
These videos are so dreamy. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to click the notification bell.
That's all, folks.